Hi guys, Mrs. Z here. I hope you're having a wonderful afternoon. I'm having a lazy daisy afternoon. Kind of need those every now and then. Actually, I've come up here to the pond because I saw John jump on the tractor with the scoop on it, the bucket, and I thought, I wonder if he's doing what I think he's doing. Let's take a look at the pond right now. There's our pond. Today is September the 4th, and I just want you to take a look at that pond as compared to the pond we've seen in days past in other videos. I'm going to just turn slowly and let you look at it. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Oh, yeah, you are. You know you are. That pond goes all the way over to that tree line over there, normally. Why do you suppose there's so much dry ground showing instead of water? I'd say half the pond is now dry ground. It's because we are in the middle of a drought here in southeast Kansas. We have not had any significant rainfall since the end of June. And here it is, the first part of September. Basically all summer we've gone without rain. And that's what happens to a pond when it doesn't get rain to fill it up. The water evaporates out, and slowly the pond dries up. You've heard the saying, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade? Well, that's what John's doing. He's got the tractor that has the scoop on it, and he is going into the bottom of that pond where we now have dry dirt, and he's scooping out that soil and he's piling it so that we can use that dirt for projects. We've got a hole to fill in, or we need to raise up some ground for a garden, or any number of things. We'll have some dirt. And that's not just any dirt. That is good topsoil. When we have torrential rains, the topsoil can be washed away, and it ends up going into our pond and settling on the bottom of the pond. This pond used to be 16 to 20 feet deep, I believe my husband has told me. And he can remember his dad having that pond dug out when he was little. And now Steve is in his 60s. And over the years, all the topsoil from other farms has silted in our pond. It has gone with the water that's running off the field, and it flows to the lowest point, and that happens to be this pond for many places. And then all that topsoil, good rich topsoil, ends up at the bottom of our pond. I think I'm going to walk in the bottom of that pond. Come join me. Have you ever wondered what the bottom of a pond looks like? That is it. Look at all those cracks. Kind of cool looking. But actually, to our eyes, it'd look a whole lot better filled with nice water. Whoa, he's making me a little nervous. Driving around the bottom of that pond. I'm just so hopeful he doesn't get stuck. As you can see, my blackberry bushes are really feeling it this year. This summer, they were just about to have blackberries by the tons. It was really full with blackberries, and then it stopped raining the end of June. Now look at them. All that brown is dead stuff where they have died. You might be looking behind me, seeing all these beautiful bean plants. These are soybeans. The plants are still alive, although honestly I don't see how they're still alive. But they hang on, just waiting for the next rain. Just because a plant in the farmer's field is green does not mean it's productive for the farmer. I'm going to pull one of these bean plants, and I'm going to get a big one, the biggest one here. These are after wheat beans. After we harvested the wheat here, we planted beans, soybeans, in this field. And this is a bean, a soybean plant. And you'll notice it looks really good, don't you think? It's nice and green. But just because a plant is green does not mean it's productive. What we really need the plant to do is produce these little pods. These are bean pods, but it's not enough just to produce a pod. A whole bunch of pods is what you want. You want the tall beans that are producing pods all the way up the plant. You see this? Here's 1, 2, I already picked this one, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pods on this. But not a single one has produced an actual bean, only a few pods. If I open this up, I can feel how flat this pod is. There is not any bean in the pod. And if I open it up, you'll see that the pod is indeed empty. You see this little tiny white thing? That is the actual bean that you want, that the farmer sells. And that's what is fed to animals. This soybean is fed to animals in their food, and they can make a whole lot of things with soybeans. So this little bean inside of the green pod is what you want. So even if the plant looks good, nice and green with pods on it, it does not mean there's any bean in the pods. And because we've had such a dry summer, that is indeed the case for these after wheat beans. There is not a single bean anywhere in this soybean field. So that's why when you hear a farmer say they need rain, that's why. They need their plants to actually produce soybeans in the pods. Behind me you'll see a couple of steers. Steers are bulls that have been fixed so that they can't be dads anymore. These are a couple of steers that we're raising to butcher, so we'll have hamburger and steak and roast in the future. They were out on pasture, which means they were out in a pasture or a field full of grass, and that's what they were eating until last week. They totally had eaten what was left of the pasture. Because it hadn't rained in so long, the grass is dying and the grass is not growing for sure, so they weren't getting anything to eat. So we had to bring them in, and now you see that hay bale back there? They're eating hay. So farmers are really hurting for hay this year because they haven't been able to grow enough grass to bale the hay. So when winter comes, it's going to be hard. They're going to have to spend a lot of money to purchase hay from other areas where the hay did better, the grass did better. So lack of rain affects how you feed your animals. And there's a close-up view of the pasture where they were. Oh, there's a few green sprigs, but most of those green sprigs are weeds. And honestly, cows don't like weeds. They want the grass. Another result of our lack of rain over the whole summer is that our electric fences don't shock the animals. They have to have some moisture in the soil before they'll actually shock the animal. So believe it or not, we have had to bring the sprinkler and the hose out here to water that electric fence wire. There, you see that yellow wire? That is the electric fence
on the inside of the chain link fence.
John and I are headed down to the cornfield, and I think it'd be fun to have an adventure, don't you? Here we go. Oh, oh my goodness, are we still in one piece? We are. There's our pumpkin patch, our 4 acres of pumpkin plants that we've planted, and they look really good, don't you think? You might be sitting there thinking, oh my goodness, look how big those pumpkin plants have gotten. They've really vined out, and they're such big green leaves. Oh, they look so healthy. And they do look good. Honestly, they do, and we are really surprised they have maintained as well as they have. But that's what they're doing, is maintaining. As far as pumpkins underneath those big green leaves, we're not sure there are all that many there. The pumpkin is fighting to survive this drought. And if they're doing that, the chances are they're not putting on fruit or pumpkins. Now we're headed down south to the cornfield. John? Was that you or me I heard screaming?
It wasn't me.
It wasn't you. Well, you know who it was then. Woo! Made my hair curl. There's our harvested cornfield. Looky there. The combine threw a little bit of corn over, and that's what it looks like. This is what we're looking for. Those yellow kernels right there on the cobs. That's what the farmer sells. Now this year, because of the lack of rain, the ears of corn were about 1/3 of the size they typically are. Instead of being 3 times that big, they typically were this big because of the lack of rain. That's pretty discouraging to a farmer. Keep in mind too that this field produced about 45 bushels of these corn kernels per acre. 45 bushels per acre instead of about 145 bushels per acre. And that tells you the farmer only made about a 1/3 of the money that he typically makes off of this field. Keep in mind too that this year the fertilizer prices, the chemical prices, all of his expenses at least doubled, if not tripled. So when you think of farmers, those people that are raising your food to eat, keep them in mind. Pray for them, because this has been a tough year in the Midwest. And on a positive note, even though that yard is mostly brown, the grass is dying away because of our lack of rain, I haven't had to mow very much this summer. Ha-ha! And we've had the opportunity to continue to work on the front of the house. It's coming along because it hasn't rained. We've been able to get the forklift into the front yard without sinking into mud or anything to work on putting siding and new windows and doors and insulation. And we're still working on it, but we're just about to call it quits. So that's another plus side. There it is. We're putting on the shutters now. I'm getting very excited to get done with this project, and we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So next time you're tempted to complain about those rain showers that keep popping up, maybe it'd be a good idea not to, because probably, most likely, there's a farmer out there that needs that rain desperately to earn their living and to raise food for you. One other thing to consider, when the farmer cannot raise the crops, the food that's necessary out there in the field because of lack of rain, that makes the price for you as the consumer go up. When you see the bread prices rising in the store, could it be that partially that might be due to a drought somewhere in the United States where wheat is grown? So if you're having an abundance of rain this year, send it our way and we will be most grateful. In the meantime, we're continuing to pray that God will give us the rain that we need. Thanks so much for joining us. Don't forget to tell your friends about Born in a Barn to catch more fun adventures at Hickory Creek Farms.